So the Lower Donlands is just west of downtown Toronto. It is land that was once used for shipping and loading. You know, it was it got industrialized very quickly. So pay attention to the Keating Channel, and you can't see it, it's just off screen, and the Don River. So this is the project area. Previously, this area had been a marshland, one of the largest marshes in North America, and the Don River fed into Toronto Harbor. But there was a cost for the development of that was not only about the environmental havoc that it wreaked, but it also separated people from the downtown waterfront. And you know, once you set that precedence, it's really hard to stop that train and that level of, you know, quote unquote progress. And furthering the progress, one of the things that someone thought was really smart to do in the 50s was to take the Don River Valley and where it came into then more urbanized area to channel the Don River, and then it goes out through the Keating Channel. And this is an historic map of that, and you can see, so here's our brilliance, engineering brilliance, and this is what nature wanted to do. And so if you were to measure those, you would see kind of the foolishness of thinking that somehow you're controlling a river and improving development by doing that kind of act. But you know, we were young then. We didn't know. But what's happened to this area, and you see the site at the lower tip, is that it's just become more and more developed and filled in, and so many more pressures that are on that same piece of land. And the consequence at the West Donlan site is that the area flooded horribly. So not only did we channelize the Don River, but when it got out to the mouth, we asked it to turn a corner. And so the result is that, you know, the big idea of having that channelized so that you could create development land completely backfired, because all of the blue is what gets flooded in the frequent events that happen on the Don River. So, you know, nature always has her way with us. So in approaching the development of this area, which now is full of warehouses and it's movie production, and you know, Canadians are very resourceful. So even though this land had been used for something industrial, they quickly turned it into another kind of development. But you know, the mayor and the province saw the wiseness of taking this piece of land and really making it something. And so we came up with an idea that we call the rivering context. And by that we mean that it's not just a matter of fixing the Don River and its flooding problems in this area, but that it's about engaging with that natural resource so that it becomes a part of everyday life. Because we talk about sustainability, and most people mean how you handle water and, you know, the materials that you use, and sustainability absolutely includes all of that. But the real sustainability that we're interested in is how do people engage with those landscapes that we take care of and repair? How do we get them to have that be an everyday part of their lives? And so we imagine that rather than having the river come and go along the Keating Channel, that in fact it might be one of the generating pieces of making the development work. So the city and the province wanted to develop this, right? They can get a much bigger tax base from that. But they've got this little flooding problem. And so one of the ideas that we looked at was to keep the Keating Channel, which everyone thought should be gotten rid of, but in fact use the flood waters that naturally want to course in this direction as a way to start to create a neighborhood, a place. So this is the flood model from that design, which you can see is quite different. So it wasn't necessarily just about our site, it was also looking at how far upstream we could also help that situation. And then this is a comparison of the before and after with using that riverine concept. But it also made good economic sense, right? You can't just, wave your flag and talk about ecology and, blah, blah, blah. People start to tune out to that. So we had to start thinking really smartly about how this idea would actually be better for the city and for the developers in the long run. So we started looking at a landscape approach for development. So landscape comes first, what's left over goes towards development. So you can see that park and open space, with that attitude, it really just changes the whole way you're looking at this. So park and open space in a plan that was previously looked at had 100 acres. We were saying, no, let's do 130 acres. Then the community development, meaning the buildings essentially, we reduced that from 155 to 70 acres because the land for the parks and the landscape had to come from somewhere. But what we said is build up. Don't spread out, build up. Because Toronto has a very long history of high-rises that people love to live in downtown. And so why not continue that along the waterfront? Likewise, the water area went from a previous proposal of 25 acres to 35 acres. And what that means is that the development fronting open space gets increased by 25%. Places that are fronting on open space sell faster, go for higher prices. The development fronting on water also gets increased, and for the same reasons, it becomes much more successful. So if you approach it from the direction that you understand what is needed to sustain this future community, people really start to be interested in that, right? That's a long-term sustainability model. And so we're still in the development stages of this. The funding keeps coming and going, and we've been working on this now for, 6 years or something like that, and we've just been asked to relook at some earlier ideas. But one of the things we have to do is to help people take an area that feels so disabused and help them to see and take that leap of what the possibilities are. And so these are just a series of sketches that we do, that we take to public meetings, and when we meet with the mayor and we meet with the province, that we can start to say, no, this is quite possible and quite realistic. It's going to cost you $300 million, but for that $300 million, you actually get a tremendous amount. You have to build infrastructure, you have to upgrade infrastructure, we have bridges that go over. So it's really, besides fixing a terrible flooding problem, there are lots of pluses besides just that.